At number 10 is Hagia Sophia Church, at Istanbul in Turkey. The former Greek Orthodox Patriarchal Church, later converted into an imperial mosque, and finally serving now as a museum. From the date of its construction in 537 until 1453, it served as an Eastern Orthodox cathedral and seat of the Patriarchate of Constantinople, except between 1204 and 1261, when it was converted to a Roman Catholic cathedral under the Latin Empire. The building was a mosque from 1453 until 1931. It was then secularized and opened as a museum in 1935, as it still is today. At number 9 is St. Mark's Basilica, at Venice in Italy. The Patriarchal Cathedral Basilica of St. Mark is the cathedral church of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Venice, northern Italy. It is the most famous of the city's churches and one of the best-known examples of Italo-Byzantine architecture. It lies at the eastern end of the Piazza San Marco, adjacent and connected to the Doge's Palace. Originally it was the chapel of the Doge, and has only been the city's cathedral since 1807, when it became the seat of the Patriarch of Venice to Archbishop of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Venice, formerly at San Pietro di Castello. At number 8 is Church of the Holy Sepulchre, at Jerusalem in Israel, also called the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre, or the Church of the Resurrection. It is a church within the Christian quarter of the Old City of Jerusalem. The site is located on the hill of Calvary Golgotha, where Jesus was believed to be crucified, and is said also to contain the place where Jesus was buried, the sepulchre. For many Christians, the site is the most important pilgrimage destination since even before the 4th century. The church is one of the best attractions in Jerusalem. At number 7 is Church of the Nativity, at Bethlehem in Palestinian territories. The Basilica located in Bethlehem. The church was originally commissioned in 327 AD by Constantine and his mother Helena over the site that is still traditionally considered to be located over the cave that marks the birthplace of Jesus of Nazareth. The church is a World Heritage Site. At number 6 is St. Paul's Cathedral, at London in England. The Church of England Cathedral, the seat of the Bishop of London. It sits at the top of the hill at the highest point in London. The original church on this site dates back to 604 AD, and it was dedicated to Paul the Apostle. The current church is from the late 17th century, and it received the same name as its predecessor was. At number 5 is Westminster Abbey, at London in England. One of the icons of London is the Westminster Abbey, a large Gothic church located just to the west of the Palace of Westminster. It is one of the most notable religious buildings in the United Kingdom. It was built in the 10th century and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. At number 4 is St. Peter's Basilica, at Rome in Italy. Constructed during the years 1506 and 1615, the dome itself was designed in 1547 by Michelangelo that took into consideration the previous design that was made for the same dome. The dome of St. Peter's rises to a total height of 136.57 meters from the floor of the basilica to the top of the external cross. It is the tallest dome in the world, and the basilica is one of the most famous and visited monuments in Rome and Italy. At number 3 is Notre Dame de Paris, at Paris in France. Notre Dame de Paris, also known as Notre Dame Cathedral or simply Notre Dame. The cathedral is widely considered to be one of the finest examples of French Gothic architecture, and it is among the largest and most well-known church buildings in the world. The naturalism of its sculptures and stained glass are in contrast with earlier Romanesque architecture. In the 1790s, Notre Dame suffered desecration during the radical phase of the French Revolution when much of its religious imagery was damaged or destroyed. An extensive restoration supervised by Eugene Violet-le-Duc began in 1845. A project of further restoration and maintenance began in 1991. At number 2 is St. Basil's Cathedral, at Moscow in Russia. The Cathedral of Basilica the Blessed is a church in Red Square in Moscow. The building is now served as a museum. It was built from 1555 to 61 on orders from Ivan the Terrible and commemorates the capture of Kazan and Astrakhan. It was the city's tallest building until the completion of the Ivan the Great Bell Tower in 1600. The original building was known as Trinity Church, contained 8 side churches arranged around the 9th church, so-called Central Church of Intercession, and the 10th church was erected in 1588 over the grave of venerated local Saint Basil. In the 16th and 17th centuries, the church perceived as the earthly symbol of the heavenly city. At number 1 is Sagrada Familia, at Barcelona in Spain. A large Roman Catholic church in Barcelona, designed by Spanish architect Antoni Gaudí. The church is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and in November 2010 Pope Benedict XVI consecrated and proclaimed it a minor basilica, as distinct from a cathedral, which must be the seat of a bishop. Construction of Sagrada Familia commenced in 1882 and Gaudí became involved in 1883, taking over the project and transforming it with his architectural and engineering style, combining Gothic and curvilinear Art Nouveau forms. Gaudí devoted his last years to the project, and at the time of his death at age 73 in 1926, less than a quarter of the project was complete.